Julie Gunlock is with us on the program from the Independent Women's Forum. Julie, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
It is my pleasure. Hope that your week is going well. I have seen so many stories out of schools around the country today, Julie, that it's kind of scaring me here. Did you see the piece out of the middle school in San Francisco where the administrators have said that the class elections, they won't view them as valid because apparently they don't reflect the diversity of the school? So
yeah. I saw it briefly on National Review's Facebook feed. I glanced at it. I didn't have a chance to look through it, but my God, I mean, what a disturbing story. I guess it's not important to actually teach kids how elections work, right?
Well, or maybe they're really teaching kids how the elections work. Yeah, I mean, and it really is as bad as all that. I mean, the apparently there's not any evidence that any student complained, right? In fact, there's not any evidence that these students had a chance to complain because the students voted, and then rather than release the results, 4 days later, the principal sends a note home saying, listen, we don't think that the results reflect the diversity of the school, so we're not really sure what we're going to do here. We might add some additional positions, slots that can be filled by people to try to make our class officers look more, more diverse and more fit the school. But you're right. Think about this message that kids are getting here. We already have problems with our kids not learning civics in school. One of the moms was quoted as saying that her son in 7th grade is thinking he's not going to run for 7th grade representative again because he's kind of jaded by the process now. And I don't blame him. This is absurd. Here we have teachers and administrators.
It also teaches them at a very early age that the color of your skin determines whether you can properly represent the student body, and that I just remember when I was little, there was this effort that to get kids to be colorblind. Like, you didn't recognize color, you didn't look at color, you didn't look at race. And it's just completely turned on its head now, that really is the primary consideration. It really bothers me as a woman when you see these man-on-the-street interviews where women actually say, I'm going to vote for Hillary Clinton because she's a woman. I mean, is there anything more sexist than that? I mean, no consideration for her qualifications, whether she did a good job as Secretary of State or a senator. It doesn't matter. It's just the fact that she has lady parts. That is so insulting. It should insult everyone, and especially women. I mean, the whole point of it, it's a woman's turn. It's a woman's chance. We shouldn't give it to someone just because of their gender. That's that's exactly what sexism is. For this school to instill, I mean, that's why we're seeing that. That's why women feel that way about Hillary Clinton without really considering any of her accomplishments. I find it very disturbing. But again, it's not surprising that this is happening when at a young age kids are taught these lessons.
And isn't it fascinating, Julia, that these kids apparently are being taught these lessons in school, whereas when they're left to their own devices, at least in this middle school in the Mission District of San Francisco, it appears these kids were voting for the class officer that they best thought that they wanted to, right? I mean, there's no allegation that these students did anything wrong. There's only the allegation that the principal didn't like the results.
I'm sure it didn't even occur to them. I mean, they were going for, I don't know what they based this on. Most popular, nicest kid, kid with the best plan, free education for everyone. I mean, maybe they voted for the Bernie Sanders candidate, But look, the thing is that this is clearly the hang up of the adults, and they're the ones who are hung up about this. So it's really too bad that these kids are getting this lesson so early on.
It is, and then they go off to college, and it gets even worse, Julie. So we've got stories. I think my favorite one was Williams College apparently disinvited a woman who was scheduled to speak at I think it was called their Uncomfortable Learning speakers series. And she was going to talk about how feminism to her was a bad thing, and or at least the modern definition of feminism. And she got a note from the faculty there at Williams College saying, listen, the students are a little freaked out by this, just letting you know. And then the next day she got an email saying, listen, we're not going to be able to host you after all here.
Oh, yeah. Look, you want to hear some really compelling story. Check out Christina Hoff Sommers, who talks about how she's been treated at some of these schools where all she's talking about is sort of the danger of speech codes and some of these other sort of regulations on free speech. And I mean, she has been treated terribly by sort of these sort of radical feminists who claim that she's aggressive and that she's scaring them and that she's contributing to the rape culture. Just really astonishing kind of behaviors from kids that are actually going to educational institutions. I mean, the universities used to be a place of, the marketplace of ideas, and let's all talk it out, and let's hear everything. And then it was a chance to debate someone. If you disagreed with them, you debated them, and you convinced other people that you had a better argument. That's sort of the idea of going to university and hearing a variety of ideas. And now, we know what it's like on universities now, and obviously the radical feminists control a lot of these sort of speech codes and other things that people are facing. There's a lot of stories out there of people being disinvited and being their invitations being. I mean, Condi Rice. It happened to Condi Rice last year. She was disinvited from a university. So there's not a lot of courage on the part of the university administration either.
No, there's not, and I wonder where this is. Well, I know where this is going. It's not anywhere good, unfortunately. But are we going to get to the point, Julie, where, and maybe have we already gotten there, where you would not be allowed to speak about the culture of alarmism because we want our students to be alarmed? Well,
yeah, look, me defending the genetically modified ingredients is thought to be, so that's some pretty provocative talk there among some people. But I went to an interesting event. The Federalist had a conference in Washington a couple of weeks ago, and Robbie Sove, he writes for Reason magazine, had a really fascinating point about the sort of the timidity among university students now, and how he traces it back to helicopter parenting, and how he really sees that. Look, we have wrapped these children in bubble wrap from the day that they're born to the day they leave for college, and is it any wonder that these kids get very nervous hearing ideas and theories that are sort of, odd to them. They can't handle it. I talked about that book that I reviewed a couple of months ago, How to Raise an Adult. Julie Hames, I think is her last name. She wrote a fantastic book about how kids are crippled now. They're having real psychological difficulties being away from home and being in these strange environments because their parents have sort of coddled them for so long. So if you want to look for the root of it, go back to elementary school. It doesn't start in college.
No, it doesn't. I mean, I think the root of it goes back to what you and I talk about in this program quite a bit here, in the nanny state and the helicopter parenting. I can't remember the author of this piece, but earlier this week there was another story about this, and the issues that some college students are having. I don't want to say it's all college students, because frankly, I know many college students who are perfectly normal adults,
capable. Yeah.
But then there are there are stories of college students calling 911 when they see a mouse. And
well, wait
really,
a minute.
Seriously,
okay. That might be something I would do.
And then having to go get counseling from the school's counseling office after they saw a mouse.
Look, it depends on look, I have a real fear of mice, so I totally understand. I understand this one. No, I get it. I understand the point. Yeah, because Mommy and Daddy were always there to swoop in and take care of whatever terrifying thing was there. I mean, it does. But this book, I feel bad. Her name is Lythcott Hames. She writes about. She gives some really useful tips. I mean, teach your kids to properly clean a bathroom. Teach them how to properly address adults. Teach them how to cut their meat. I mean, these are things, shockingly, parents are not doing. Teach them how to do laundry, how to manage their money. These are things that are really useful, and parents are consistently failing to do this, which leaves these kids really bewildered when they are out on their own. So, we sort of are so obsessed with, I got to get my kid involved, playing piano and all sorts of sports teams and all this stuff. I mean, there is some practical stuff you have to teach your kids, which we're continually failing to do.
You're absolutely right, and it should be noted. I'm going to pat myself and my wife on the back here because our 10-year-old son, youngest son, is now doing his own laundry. Julie,
that's unbelievable.
Bringing
is
it downstairs,
awesome. I can't brag about that. I have an 8-year-old.
Sorting it and everything.
Really?
Yep.
That's impressive.
Still needs a little help folding, but I can understand that. That's not my favorite activity either. But he's making his bed. He's doing his laundry.
Aww.
10. I mean, I wasn't doing that at 10.
No, I wasn't.
So,
no, I wasn't. I mean, and honestly, I have some work to do. I think my 8-year-old is a ways away from that. So maybe I should start inviting him to observe the operation.
His 10-year-old sister isn't quite there yet, but of the 3 kids that we currently have in the house, 2 of the 3 are doing their own laundry. I feel
that's great.
Pretty good about that. But again, this is something that we talk about this. I know you and I have talked about this before. Sometimes being a parent isn't about ensuring that every day is your kid's best day ever, right? Sometimes being a parent means your kids may go to bed going, I don't know why I had to do my own laundry. That was stupid.
Yeah.
But, in the long run, kids don't really think in the long run. That's one of the jobs that's up to parents because we have that long-term perspective that our kids are lacking. When we give that up as parents, we're not helping our kids. We're hurting them.
Absolutely. There is so much truth to that. And again, really, the earlier you teach your kids to do these things and to have this kind of this kind of practical knowledge, I mean, there are things that are just going by the wayside. Proper table manners. I mean, how to address an adult, how to shake hands. These are some simple things, that parents seem to forget about. They are so wound up in some of these, my child succeeding or my child hitting certain benchmarks, that they sort of forget. And there's something really valuable in kids learning these things. So don't forget those really basic things that kids need to learn, and it's going to serve them when they finally launch, when they go off, whether it's college or trade school or if they just get a job out of high school. I mean, they're going to need this practical information, and you're doing your job.
Absolutely. And as long as we're making book recommendations, Julie, you should have a copy of Heavy Lifting on its way to you.
I do not.
Well, it's on its way then.
Okay, good. I can't wait to read it and review it.
All right, we've got about a minute left here. Let me ask you, we've got a news story here from Subway. They say that you were talking about GMOs. Subway says eating fresh will be antibiotic-free by 2025.
Okay, it's illegal you cannot have medicines in the meat and milk. This meat is tested to make sure that there's no residual medicines in the meat that's sold in the stores. So, it's already illegal to have meat that's riddled with antibiotics and medicines on the market. It's a marketing ploy. It's a marketing term, and it's like seeing chicken that says hormone free. It is illegal to give chickens hormones in this country, and it has been for years. So that is a marketing ploy. It is another marketing ploy. It drives me up a wall. And these companies, again, they are struggling to find their place in this health-obsessed culture that we live in now. So they're using these kinds of labels and phrases to attract customers. I'm just telling you, our food's safe, and it's been antibiotic-free for, ever. So don't buy into that stuff, and don't let it sway your food decisions.
I'm going to run down and get a 12-inch penicillin and cheese right now because the show's over. Julie, listen, thank you so much for being a part of the program. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me.